Hey everyone, welcome to Connected Live. As you can see, I'm back in my house doing the Connected Lives because it is ungodly hot outside. And I've already ridden today, spent some time with the boys, took care of them. And so what is my topic for Connected Live today? I've been pretty passionate about what's been going on in the world, as many people are. And some of you have seen my past too, kind of connecting what's going on with not only the human animal, but other animals and how it impacts. And as I watched the news this morning, what I found really fascinating was, and I've been hearing it for a few days. So in the news, they're talking about what's going on in Washington State and Portland and Portland, Oregon as well. And they're saying that people are being picked up and detained without due process. And I've been hearing people kind of commenting on different articles that it's talking about, like unmarked vehicles picking up people. So they're not even arrests, they're just people being detained. So with that said, I wanted to bring up something that I talked about back in 2012, but when I talked about it, no one really was paying attention. They said, oh, that'll never be used, it'll never be enacted, why are you following what they're doing so closely? So the reason that I was prompted to do it was then again today on Good Morning America, they actually said on the news that the officials of those cities were saying that what these pickups were illegal. And I just found it really interesting that the media is not reporting everything kind of the way they should. So in 2011, December 31st, I believe it was, in 2011, Obama signed into being expanding the Patriot Act. So it was the NDAA that was signed in 2011. That NDAA, even the ACLU, went after Obama for doing it because it was the language of what terrorism is was so loose that probably this conversation could be deemed terrorism and I could be held indefinitely and all that stuff. So actually, when people are saying that the feds are going against the law, the feds aren't. They're following what Obama signed into being in 2011, but no one's talking about that. So I just kind of wanted to bring some clarity to that in this Connected Live. The United States needs to be active citizenship. We need to keep our eyes on what's going on. And that's kind of really when people are complaining about the choices we have of politicians, everything going on in the world right now, it's a reflection of we the people. I mean, only 20% of us vote. And do you think we're really reading what they're passing as laws in Congress and the Senate? So in 2011, if you go back and read, or you can find the link on my page, because even the ACLU was screaming about it, that Obama signed into being something he promised not to do. By the way, his campaign promises, and I'm not a Republican, I'm not a Democrat, I actually believe both sides are a mess. I believe that both sides really aren't serving the people. The whole thing is a mess. But what I'm saying is, you have to look at the whole picture of what both sides are doing. So in 2011, when the original NDAA was signed into being, which expanded the Patriot Act, which again, Obama had promised, I mean, they have it on tape, that he was going to return the rights taken away by the Patriot Act. And then in 2011, December 31st, in the middle of the night, he signed in the NDAA into being. So again, the ACLU was all over this, trying to say, hey, this thing is really dangerous. The language of terrorism is so loose that, again, like I said earlier, this could be deemed terrorism, what I'm talking about right now. And indefinite detainment and torture could be used. So I had read it extensively and was sending it around to everybody, trying to get everybody to wake up and say, hey, if you disagree with this eviscerates what's left of the Bill of Rights. And somebody said to me that is in politics, said, oh, it doesn't supersede the Bill of Rights. And I said, well, yes, it does. It's a new law that comes after it that does supersede the Bill of Rights. So we currently have, from 2011, the NDAA that is in effect, whether it's domestic terrorists or International terrorism, and again, the language of terrorism is very loose in the 2011 NDAA, so anything could be determined to be terrorism. You can be picked up, you can be detained. They don't have to tell anyone, they don't have to read you your rights. You don't get the rights to a lawyer if it comes under this very loose language of terrorism. So with people being picked up right now, they are absolutely within the rights of the laws that have been passed prior to this administration. And so again, we the people, if there's something that we disagree with, we need to keep an eye on what the House and what both houses are doing. So just keep in mind, and I'm not just throwing stones at Obama here, this is not about that. This is both houses passed the NDAA, both Republicans and Democrats passed it. And then Obama signed it in the middle of the night, I think it was right before midnight, December 31st, 2011. So go back and read that. You'll find it on the ACLU's page because, again, even the ACLU was outraged that this was put into being because it eviscerated what was left of the Bill of Rights. So we, the people, need to wake up. We need to really look at what they're putting into law, and we need to speak up. I mean, this is supposed to be government by we the people, and it's not about getting angry or fearful or it's about becoming informed and becoming educated. So thank you for listening to this Connected Live. I know I usually keep it about animals, but humans are animals too. We're just very confused right now, and we need to come from a place of love and confidence and education and a place of unity. That's the biggest thing going on. There is more that makes us the same than there is that separates us. We need to stay in the present. We need to look for solutions to the issues that we need to evolve out of and make things better for everybody. So it's time to go back to what was always intended. The United States is what they call active citizenship, and our population has been incredibly apathetic. And that's being used kind of in the favor of whoever wants to use it against the American people or create power for themselves. But if we, the people, really become involved the way we should become involved, from an intelligent point of view, from a peaceful point of view, we really can turn things around. So thank you again for watching and listening. Please spread the news about that because, again, the media is not even reporting on the NDAA from 2011 and what it means. All right, thanks guys again for all the support. I promise I'll do another one about animals soon. I'll switch this around right now and maybe you guys will catch a glimpse of the boys. There are the boys. The two German Shepherds, as you can notice, German Shepherds will instinctively take place where they have the best view of everything. It's just their natural way because they really are guardians, if you will. And so there is Thor. He's our youngster. That's our rescue out of Texas. He's doing really well. And there's the old man, Balder. He's our East German dog, and I've had him for 9 years. I'll spend a little time on animal stuff, okay, because we've got a little bit of time and people love this stuff. So, animal health is so important, and we have to realize even in this time period where everybody is worried about money and worried about security and job position, their health, they are affected by the stress that we're feeling. They're very empathic. Even if you think your dog is just a dog, they feel the stress that's in the house and respond to it. Thor is a rescue, so his response to stressors in the house is going to be a little bit more marked than Baldur's. As you can see, Baldur's passed out. Thor is sucking on his toy like a crazy man, he needs it like a pacifier. But they respond to environmental stress. So especially the rescues, you've really got to keep that in mind and find a way. Like my friend Mimi Germain, who's this fabulous trainer in LA, was addressing this topic that a lot of people are staying home and spending more times with their pets. But as things will eventually, I know they're closing down again, but when they open back up again, you have to find a way to transition your dog effectively and seek help to do that. Because one minute you're there and the next minute you're not. And it can't be that selfish. We have to be conscious of their feelings too. They love being with us, and suddenly they're with us 24/7, and then all of a sudden you disappear with no context. And that's where animal communication will come in and be very effective, which is part of what I do. But in order to do effective animal communication, you have to understand the psychology, the species, the breed, the gender, and then the individual as well. And then you have to figure out how to communicate the issue in a way that that individual will actually hear you. So animal communication, there are a lot of people that can do it, and anybody can talk at an animal. It's a whole different ball game to be emotionally literate with another species so that you can actually make animal communication effective as a tool that complements training and behavior work. And that's what I've successfully done over the past 20 years. So Thor, I have to do things a little different with Thor to help him stay calm. And then obviously I've had Balder since he was 8 weeks old. He came from a very stable environment. He's a very happy, well-adjusted dog. And as you can tell, that even though I've got things going on, he is sound asleep. So keep up with your visits, the things that your dogs need, whether they're supplements, if it's their annual, definitely take them. If going to the vet is too stressful, then have somebody like me do a read on the animal to see if they're needing anything in particular. It's always really important. Like I got very distracted. I'll give you an example from my life. I got very distracted in the past couple of weeks. And there is a Western medicine that I have to give Balder every few months. And I don't like to give it to him because, not just because it's Western medicine, but because this particular medicine has a history of creating neurological problems, seizures, and even death. And he muscle tests for it perfectly. It's worked for him for a few years now. It addresses the only thing that's addressing his Demodex at this point, because it's very aggressive Demodex. And it's a domino effect with autoimmune, and then his digestion goes, and then it's a whole mess. He's almost passed away 3 times since he's been in Oklahoma. And thankfully I have this wonderful holistic vet who's a DVM that I do partner with out here. But Dr. McNeil will always laugh at me and say, "You already know what to do. Why do you come in here or call me?" And I said, "Because they're my own dogs and I like to check my work." So everybody has to have somebody to work with for support. There's no end-all be-all individual. So I got a little distracted and I didn't want to give it to him because I was a little bit fearful, which is silly. You know, I always talk about not responding from fear, and there I was doing it. And so the heat kind of caught up with Balder when he was hanging outside by the shop with my husband while he was woodworking. And so the Demodex started around his tail and he started oozing. He is being so good, though. At 9 years old, Balder really does understand how to participate in taking care of himself. So some dogs will unconsciously scratch or chew on themselves, and he won't do that. He'll just kind of sit next to me, and I know the look now that he gives me when he needs help, when he's hurting, when the Demodex is active. So he started doing that yesterday afternoon, and I sat down on the floor, and I went through his whole body, and he has really thick fur. And then I found the 2 patches on his tail and on his chest that were oozing. And I went, okay, mommy was a little slow on the uptake on this. So we got him on his medicine. And obviously today, Thor is only 2. So he's got tons of energy. So he's bored out of his mind. And Balder is just happy to be inside in the air conditioning because the heat is what triggers Demodex. Now, for those watching, what is Demodex? Because a lot of people don't know. Demodex is actually, there's 2 forms of mange. There's sarcoptic mange, which most people know about, and we just refer to it as mange, but it's called sarcoptic mange. Sarcoptic mange is what you see in the wild. That is highly contagious and obviously, kills animals. And then Demodex is the autoimmune form of it, where the animal's own immune system can't regulate the mites that are already on the body. So like all of us have these things, organisms on our body, we just don't see them. And then on certain individuals who have immune issues, the mange will go, the Demodex will go nuts and start causing a problem. So Bowler has battled with that and ulcers because he's highly emotional, German Shepherds, and digestive problems, his whole life. And it's been an interesting, delicate balancing act. So I share his health challenges with you guys. And I knew Thor was also off digestion-wise. He was doing pretty well. But again, double check my work. We went in with McNeil and she confirmed that he had some polyps in his back end. And so the common solution for polyps is to cut them out. But, when you have somebody that does either for humans integrative medicine or for animals holistic and a DVM, there's other solutions for that. So we started giving him a holistic remedy that is a pharmaceutical grade by a company called Standard Process. And in Chinese medicine, it brings the qi down, and literally within one dose, the whole situation started to correct itself. And so he's been on that regimen now for about 4 weeks and is doing spectacularly and gaining weight again. So when you rescue, you always have to remember it's a wild card. Rescues don't have the advantage of proper food, proper nutrition, proper foundation, proper emotional stability. So all the issues that a human can have with emotional sources of disease like anxiety and depression that cause a whole load of other physical problems in a dog or in a person as well happens with a dog. That's what I was trying to say. Sorry about that, guys. So you have to look at the emotional source of disease when you do energy medicine, and you have to understand the physical in order to pull it all together, because without dealing with the 3 levels, that's why energy medicine is so hit or miss. And again, I've had Reiki masters work with me to help their pets and to help them. And they'll say to me, hands down, your work is completely different from Reiki. Reiki, it just focuses on the energy part of it and doesn't link the emotional source or the psychology of it and then the physical source. And so I started that 20 years ago. I'm seeing more people starting to do it, but I was one of the first to really integrate all of it together and be very vocal about it. So I've been doing this for 20 years, and my animals are an example of walking the talk. It came up yesterday. Sometimes I forget. It seems like Arrow passed away, and it's like he came into my life, was here for 6 years, and then he's gone in March. He was just gone. And I remembered that diagnosed by 3 different vets with uveitis, which is a disease that they don't really understand in Western medicine. And the uveitis is, there's no cure, and there's really no effective treatment, and basically the animal will go blind. Now, anybody who knows Arrow's story knows that that level of abused horse was never going to survive being blind, and I knew it. So I was on my own finding a solution for this with my work. So I was doing sessions on him probably 2 to 3 times a week sometimes, and this went on for 6 months. And then I found I went at it 3 different ways, bolstering the immune system and then dealing directly with the eye itself. Now, when I was done with my therapy for Arrow and dealing with the emotional source of disease, what does Arrow not want to see? Understanding that the disease also has a viral component as well as a genetic component. I also realized, we got through it. We had 3 vets, same 3 vets come in, and the uveitis, by the way, was gone, and no signs of it having existed in his eye. So Arrow was fully sighted, which is unheard of. No medical doctor I know of, the vets that I talk to, they're like, none of us have been able to get rid of uveitis. And they couldn't believe it, but they had diagnosed it themselves, so there was no denying that Arrow had a pretty serious case of uveitis, and then in 6 months it was absolutely gone with no trace of it, which again, once they have the damage, they say it's irreversible, so there were no signs of the damage at all. So I had to deal with it on multiple levels, and then I had the sheer amazing universe, serendipity, one of the pioneer of holistic medicine, who's a DVM, Gloria Weintraub, happened to be at our barn, and we got into a conversation. I realized who she was, and I went, oh boy, this is a lady I've looked forward to meeting. And so I said to her, would you mind taking a look at Arrow? She was retired at that point. And she said, of course, I'll take a look at him. And I told her what had happened and what I'd done. And I said, he's been deemed fully sighted. And she took a look at him and she said, yeah, he's got full sight. And I said, she goes, but you're worried. And I said, I feel like I dealt with the immune system. I dealt with the viral. I dealt with the emotional source. I dealt with the energetic. But I can still feel it around him. And I don't quite understand why. Like, what am I missing? Because I'm missing something and I think it could come back. And she said, wow, for not having a medical degree, she's like, you are spot on. She said, I'm muscle testing him and his liver is weak. And I went, wow, that makes total sense, because Arrow has rage issues. And a person or an animal with rage issues tends to have a weakened liver. If you think about it, it made sense with Arrow because all the stress he was under, all the abuse, all the anger, his liver was just, not the best at his age. So she said, I'm going to recommend some Chinese medicine for this. And once we address the liver, then the eyes will be kind of, solidified with health. So we did that, and Arrow, when he passed away at 30, was fully sighted. No uveitis. So, it's good to have a great vet, but, back then there were no vets except for Gloria Weintraub that I wanted to work with. Dr. Bende, by the way, he's amazing, but he's completely Western. He's open to holistic because he's friends with Gloria Weintraub. So Dr. Bende was really helpful, but there was no one for me really to kind of check my work with, like with a Gloria Weintraub or with a Dr. Nita McNeil or a Dr. Kim Rasmussen out here with equines. So I was kind of on my own, and the universe was very serendipitous that I happened to meet the lady that is the exact person's help that I needed. And the universe does work that way. So it was just crazy how I met Gloria Weintraub, and she complimented me on my work and said, keep going, kid. You've got an uphill battle with energy medicine, but the way you're doing it is you're integrating it, and you are working open to working with vets, and you do understand, how the body works, and there's some things you question, but she's like, you're spot on. You're further along than I was. She was just so complimentary in every single way I can possibly imagine. So is Dr. McNeil and Dr. Kim Rasmussen. Everyone's been really kind. So like I said, sometimes when you have an animal with a distinct challenge that, say, Western medicine will tell you there's nothing you can do. Don't stand on that, even if you have to go unconventional, even if you have to work with somebody like me who's a little bit off the map. So Balder would not be alive today if it weren't for unconventional methods. I've had that said to me by, too many people, and Dr. McNeil, and said, but you just wouldn't give up on him, and the dog wouldn't give up. Baldur was absolutely committed to staying here. He just wanted to get his health, and he was actually really stubborn. I will tell you, as far as animal communication goes, this is a really interesting point. Anybody who's tried to communicate with Baldur has said we've never, and Dr. McNeil said it, Dr. Weintraub said it, never met a dog like this before. He doesn't want help. Dr. Weintraub had tested him prior to us leaving New Jersey. She tested him with I think like 40 to 50 remedies, and he would not test for anything. It was just blank. And she looked at me and she goes, no, you're not crazy. It's not you. You're spot on. This dog doesn't want help. He wants to fix himself. He doesn't want us to help him. And I said, well, he's going to die if we don't, because he can't keep going. He goes, yeah. And she said, but he's going to decide when he asks for help. And then when he finally does, he'll get better. And I was like, great. So, managing what looked like IBS symptoms, IBD, irritable bowel disease. And there was so much more wrong with him than that. He was hiding the ulcers. He was hiding so many things. And so On the third time, when he got very close to not going to make it, he finally let Dr. McNeil and me in at the same time. And both of us were like, oh my God, it's this. And then we knew exactly what to do. And then we got Balder on track, and he's been healthy for the past year and a half. But it was a 4-year odyssey of Balder absolutely convinced he could get through it himself. So again, even if you can do animal communication, sometimes you get an animal that's incredibly stubborn that wants to do it themselves, like Baldur, and you kind of have to stick with it. You can't let them get away with it. And so talking with somebody like an animal communicator like me, who understands the medicine, the psychology, and then can bring it all together successfully in order to help your pet. You know, not all pets are as stubborn as Baldur. I tend to get the really challenging ones. I had Arrow. William does the same thing. I had to have Dr. Kim Rasmussen come out. As you guys know, I can do chiropractic adjustments even from distance. And man, William would not let me work on him, would not talk to me about it. Really funny. And something told me to get Dr. Kim out there, and she did, and she had a laugh too. She's like, he's letting me do it, but he's not going to admit he's got a problem. And I'm like, so he had a lot of things that needed adjusting, which I had known. It was like from the top of the head to back of the tail, and we got it all fixed up. But newsflash, he's still really lazy. There's actually no impulsion to the boy unless he decides he wants to show off. It's really kind of funny. He's my diva. And then Jack, of course, she said, what do you think about Jack? And I'm like, Jack's got nothing wrong. He might have hung himself upside down. He might have done all kinds of crazy stuff to himself, but he's not out of alignment. She looked at him and she went, you're right. He's perfect. He's like a tank. So every animal is different. Be open to solutions. Solutions come from very interesting places. I do my homework. Like if I recommend Guardian face mask to protect the eyes, like, you know, Arrow had, you guys that know Arrow had the big bug eye thing, you know, and it was because uveitis is very painful and the eyes get dry, and so anything sticking to the eye just makes everything more irritated. So the Guardian horse mask folks created those big pockets that made, you know, Arrow look like a fly, but it, in like the conventional masks, will collapse on the eye and touch the eye a lot of the times when horses rub against things. Whereas this one, because it has a hard shell over both of the eyes, it protects the eye completely, as well as having over 90% UV light protection. So Guardian horse mask, excellent product, one of the best if you've got a horse with eye issues. That's the only mask that I really recommend because it won't collapse on the eye and cause other problems that way. So thanks again for listening from the beginning, which had to do with the human animal, from the end, which has to do with our animal companions, from stubborn ones like Baldur. You know, just remember, you might have to go off the map a bit and work with someone like me to help you with your animal. And also know that as we transition from this second wave of coronavirus that looks like it's happening now, we're spending a lot of times with our pets. So we have to think about, once things start to normalize and routines start to happen again and work starts to happen, we have to really make sure that we address it, because you can't just spend 100% of your time with them and then just leave them and expect them to be okay with no context and no idea of what's happening. So that's really important. Believe it or not, other animals are very similar to the human animal. They need context in order to be cooperative in what you're trying to do. And do they have their own minds, and will they get stubborn? Of course they will. But you stand a better chance at getting compliance and what you need from your animal companion if they do have context. Just like when you do training and development with people or you have kids in school. Context, the why, is super important. And that's what I've always specialized in with my animal communication, along with the other elements I talked about earlier. So thanks again for joining this Connected Live. You guys have a great day. Stay safe. Live well despite all the challenges right now. Enjoy everything that you have right now, because it's nice to kind of insulate and have a little more time to yourself, time to be with yourself and think. All right, you guys have a great day, and thanks for watching. Bye-bye.